They told Jiho never to go near the old wall. Everyone in the village of Daewon knew that rule. The wall stood high above them, built into the cliff like a forgotten scar, covered in moss and ivy. No one remembered who made it, not even the oldest. Elder could say where it came from. They only knew it had always been there, quiet, cold, and wrong. Some said the wall was cursed. Jiho didn't believe in curses. He believed in facts, in history, and in science. He was a university student. Studying archaeology, he trusted stones and soil layers, not village stories. Back home for the summer, he often walked near the cliffs, sketching old trees, strange rocks, and forgotten corners. And one day, the wall called to him. It didn't speak, not yet. But something in Jiho's chest told him to stop and look closer. It was late afternoon. The wind was gentle. The birds were singing softly in the distance. Jiho stood before the wall, notebook in hand. The old stones were huge and dark, grown over with vines. Strange symbols curled around the base, barely visible. Through the dirt and roots, he crouched down and brushed the vines aside with his hand. "This is just stone," he whispered. He leaned in closer to sketch the markings, and then crack. His head hit something hard, a sharp edge. Jiho gasped, stumbling back, clutching his forehead. Pain throbbed through his skull. He sat on the ground, groaning. Then it happened. A voice. "You saved me." Jiho froze. The words didn't come from his ears. They came from inside his mind, clear, soft, and very old. He looked around. No one was there. The trees swayed quietly. A bird flew by, but the voice had been real. "Hello?" Jiho whispered. "You?" "Heard me," the voice replied. "After all this time, you heard me?" Jiho's heart beat faster. He didn't know what was happening. Was he dreaming? Was he hurt worse than he thought? "Don't run," the voice said, "please." Again. "I don't want to be alone anymore. Who are you?" Jiho asked, his voice shaking. "My name is Haran. I was once a guardian, until they trapped me here." The voice sounded sad. So lonely it made Jiho's chest hurt. That night, Jiho lay in his room, staring at the ceiling. He touched the bandage on his head, told himself it was just the pain, just a dream. But deep down, he knew it wasn. The next day, he returned. He brought gloves, tools, and his grandfather's old notebook, a thick leather book filled with myths and drawings. Passed down in the family? Jiho had never believed the stories, but now he needed to see. He opened the notebook on a flat rock. Page 61 stopped him cold. A circle with 6 glowing shapes around it, just like the markings on the wall. Underneath it, his grandfather had, written in shaky letters, "Bound Guardian, Dangerous, Mercy, or Madness." "You came back," Haran's voice said gently. "I want to understand," Jiho said. The voice grew stronger over the next few days. Jiho came again and again. He brought water, tools, and sometimes food. Even though Haran said he didn't need it, Haran told Jiho stories of great forests and shining cities, of times when the land was full of life and peace. Haran said he was one of 6 guardians, each connected to a force of nature: stone, fire, water, wind, light, and shadow. They were protectors made of power and will. But then, Haran said, the kings grew afraid. They feared what they could not control, so they sealed us. Each of us buried in the thing we once guarded. I was sealed in the stone. Listened, eyes wide. He believed Haran. He didn't know why, but he did. "How did I wake you?" he asked. "Your blood," Haran said. "Your pain. You carry the blood of the ones who made the seal." Your touch broke the silence. "I didn't." "Mean to?" Jiho whispered. "But you did," Haran replied. "And now I can speak. I can hope again." Jiho returned every evening. His heart was full of questions. But more than that, he wanted to help. "Why me?" he asked once. "Because you listened," Haran said. No one listened for 500 years. On the 7th night, under a full silver moon, Jiho stood before the wall again. He had learned much. He had sketched the sigils, copied pages from his grandfather's book. He had even found one old entry that said the wall was not evil but sleeping. Haran had taught him a word to finish the unbinding. Daewon, Haran whispered. Say it only if you truly believe I should return. Jiho stood still. The wind was cold. His fingers touched the last glowing mark. He took a deep breath and spoke. Daewon. The ground shook. Stones cracked. The wall split down the center. Light poured from inside the stone's soft golden light. It formed a shape. A giant figure stepped forward, not made of flesh, but of glowing earth and flickering light. Tall as a tree, his body looked like carved stone, but he moved like breath. Jiho stepped back, amazed. You're real, he whispered. The giant knelt. His voice was deep and gentle. You did not free a monster, Haran said. Freed a friend. The air was still. The forest was quiet. Jiho stood before the ancient being, heart full of wonder, in the distance. The village of Daewon slept, unaware that something had changed forever. The wall was no longer a prison. It was a door, and Jiho had opened it. The villagers of Daewon woke to shaking earth. It lasted only a few seconds, just enough to rattle windows and spill tea. No buildings fell. No trees broke. But the people whispered. They looked toward the cliff where the old wall had always stood by. Morning, the wall was gone. Only one person knew what had really happened, Jiho. He stood alone near the ruins. The wall had cracked open like an egg, and from inside, something ancient had stepped out. Haran now, in the morning light, Haran stood. Near the trees, he looked almost like a giant man made of glowing stone and soft light. His eyes were calm. His shape shimmered, almost like a dream. It was quiet, still. Watching Jiho felt both scared and amazed. His heart beat fast, but not with fear. You are free now? Jiho said softly. Haran nodded slowly. Thanks to you? What happens next? Jiho asked. I will protect, like before. Haran turned to the forest. Then he stepped back into the shadows of the trees and disappeared. With magic or speed, but by slowly fading, like morning mist, no one else saw him. Not yet, but that was only the beginning in the days that followed. Strange things started to happen in Torm. First came the storm. Dark clouds rolled over the mountains. The rain fell hard and fast. The river overflowed, threatening to flood. The lower part of the village, people grabbed buckets and sandbags. They shouted, trying to block the water. But then, the river changed direction. Without warning, the water flowed back into the valley, guided by falling rocks and shifting earth. Some villagers said they saw the mountain move. Not like an earthquake, but like something pushed the land with care. The next day, the sun rose and warmed everything quickly. The village was safe. Not even a single house was wet. Was it a miracle? Someone asked. Maybe the gods heard us, said another. Jiho said nothing. He only looked toward the forest and smiled. A week later, a young girl named Nari went missing. She had chased a butterfly into the trees and didn't return. Her mother screamed for help. The whole village searched. As night fell, they found Nari asleep on the edge of the forest. Warm and safe, holding a flower not found in the area. She said, a big stone friend carried her on his shoulder and told her stories until she wasn't scared anymore. Some laughed, some worried, but Jiho understood. Haran was watching. That night, Jiho returned to the broken wall. Thank you, said into the silence. You're welcome. Haran replied gently. His voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Jiho sat on a rock and opened his grandfather's notebook. He had added new pages, drawings of Haran, descriptions of their talks, notes about the strange events you saved. Nari, Jiho said. I only did what I was made to do, Haran said. Then Haran became quiet. After a pause, he said something that made Jiho sit straighter. I am not the only one. What do you mean? There were 6 of us, Haran said. 6 guardians. Stone, fire, water, wind, light, and shadow. I was sealed in stone. I still feel the others. Far away, silent, buried. Jiho felt cold. Can they be freed too? Maybe Haran said. But not all will be kind. Not all will forgive. Jiho swallowed hard. Do I have a choice? Yes, Haran said. It must always be your choice. That night, Jiho couldn't sleep. His mind spun with questions. If he could free one guardian, could he free the others? Should he? What if one of them was dangerous? But what if one of them needed help? In the morning, Jiho took a train to the capital city to visit the university. Library, he searched old maps, forgotten legends, and family records. It took days. He didn't tell anyone why. Then he found something in an old book hidden in the restricted section. It was brittle and dusty, written in 2 languages, one modern, one ancient. On page 112 was a picture, a ring of 6 symbols. He recognized the one for stone. The others he had seen faintly in his dreams. At the bottom was a warning. When the seals break, the world will change. Jiho returned home. Haran was waiting. I saw them, Jiho said.
Yeah, those symbols, yes.
Haran said, they are waking too. The next weeks passed quickly. News came from nearby provinces. A volcano that had been asleep for 100 years suddenly began to smoke, then went silent again. A dried-up lake filled overnight with fresh water. Strange wind blew through a city for an entire day without stopping. People said the earth was restless. Jiho knew better. The guardians were stirring. But Jiho had a problem. He couldn't be in 6 places. He didn't know how to find the seals. And he wasn't sure he should. One evening, he walked deep into the forest to speak to Haran again. I'm scared, he admitted. I understand, Haran said. What if I free someone who hates humans? What if they destroy instead of protect? Haran was silent for a long moment. Then you must teach them, he said. Like you taught me, not with words, with care, with kindness. Jiho nodded slowly. He opened the notebook again. He added, a new title at the top of the next page? Plan to wake the guardians carefully. He would not rush. He would study. He would prepare. He would choose mercy, but with wisdom. A month later, an earthquake struck a province far to the east. Buildings crumbled, fires burned. People cried for help. Jiho packed his bag. He didn't know if it was a guardian or just nature. But he had to go. He left a note for his parents. He took the notebook, and Haran watched him leave. Tall and quiet in the shadows of the cliffs, be careful, Haran said softly, I will. Jiho replied. As the train carried him away, Jiho looked out. The window at the mountains? He was just a student. He had no powers. No weapons. But he had something stronger. He had the courage to listen, and sometimes that was enough. He had freed one guardian, and now maybe he could help the others, not to fight, not to rule, but to remember, to protect, to believe again that some ruins are more than stone. Some voices are worth hearing, and some walls, even after 500 years, are just waiting for the right person to knock. Words, approximately 1,460. Language, simple and basic English tone, mysterious, emotional, hopeful, human perspective. Third-person key. Elements. Jiho helps villagers without revealing Haran. Guardian saves a child and prevents disasters. Jiho learns about the other guardians. Choice is central. He is not forced to free others. Ends with Jiho setting out on a quiet journey. To learn, not destroy.